dames en heren. But no need to fear my presentation in English. I have an English friend. He always says that Dutch people speak English better than English people. Yeah, my presentation is about Islam, democracy, and civil society. But before starting to analyze the Islamic democracy, first we have to introduce some assumptions. First of all, we have to distinguish between secularization and secularism. And then secularism and democracy. I am entirely aware of the fact that there are many confusion in the mind of people concerning democracy and Islam, whether democracy is possible in a religion-oriented culture, which is generally determined by revelation. This confusion emerges from a misunderstanding of some content of conceptions, especially the conception of secular and secularism. There is an essential difference between these conceptions. Secular or secularization means, in general sense, urbanization, democratization, industrialization, and rationalization, while secularism as ism is an anti-religious ideology which has specific worldviews and doctrines peculiar to it. Although many people are thinking that there is an identity between democracy and secularism, while in fact there's no identity between democracy and secularism. Democracy is a political regime by which government comes in power with a general election for a certain period. Instead, secularism is a philosophical doctrine. On the other hand, we are witnessing today that some regimes are based on secularism, but they are not democratic, such as former Soviet Union and contemporary China and Cuba, as well as former Saddam's regime. Thus, there is no identity between democracy and secularism. One can also talk about hard secularization and mild secularization. Radical secularization, in a general sense, has been seen by some scholars, philosophers, as very destructive process against human-oriented forms. For this reason, they try to invite again Abrahamic religions to the public sphere to perform their main function. One of them, Habermas. According to Habermas, radical secularization, hard secularization, and capitalism have destroyed human life, which based on human dignity, by instrumentation of man to maximize economic and political profits. To avoid the negative aspect of radical secularization, Jürgen Habermas has developed a very important theory, post-secular theory, in which religious values have significant influence to establish a social cohesion, post-secular theory. I worked in a project of EPOS, post-secular society. I was representative of a European Muslim there. There were 20 professors from different countries in Europe, and established a book, Europe, Secular or Post-Secular. I engage with this problem: secularism, secularization, post-secularization. Habermasian theory is very, very important in Europe, also in East countries. The second assumption is that there is no conflict between the sovereignty of God and people, as discussed before. God's sovereignty is a theological in itikad, in Arabic, Turkish also, in itikad. Although sovereignty of people is a political and a social one. One has to distinguish between theological itikadi and political sphere, muamelat in Arabic, in Turkish, muamelat. You have will, you have activity, you have son, you have house. Gods have also your will, your son, your house. There is no conflict between your ownership of your son and God's ownership of your house. God's ownership is a theological ownership. Human ownership is a political, social, juridical ownership. There is not conflict. This confusion is a very destructive confusion. We have to distinguish between theological and political, social spheres. To be able to understand the position of Islam toward democracy, we have to point out some important structure of Islam. First, we shall briefly analyze the general characteristic of the Quran and then general methods of reading of the text. This is not the problem of Muslim, also problem of Christian, Jewish. Reading of the text. As you know, the Quran is a religious text, such Torah, Bible. All religious texts are very flexible. They emerges from the linguistic character of the text. All texts have very clear and metaphoric verses. These are conflicting with each other. For example, some passages emphasize the power of God, while others suggest the freedom and responsibility of the people. Likewise, some verses explain the oneness and the unity of God. Qul huwallahu ahad. God is only one, unique, while others explain an anthropomorphic God. God has hand, God has eyes, hand, and so forth. Anthropomorphic God. This case is valid for all economic, political, and human activities. For example, some verses stress the absolute sovereignty of God. Others point to domination of people in the political and economical spheres. This characteristic of the Quran is given very important authority to human intellect, because there is no other means than intellect to distinguish between clear and metaphoric. Which of them metaphoric and which of them clear? How can we understand? If we refer to hadith, saying of Prophet Muhammad, this is also text. Some of them metaphoric, some of them clear. How can we understand which verse is metaphoric, which is clear? This is only reason, intellect. What reason says that this is metaphoric? It is metaphoric. What reason says that it is clear? It is clear. That is the way of general Sunni tradition in the interpretation of the Quran text, Sunnah, and so forth and so forth. Muslim scholars and democracy, there is no given political pattern in the Quran and the Sunnah which impose on Muslims to establish it. It is normal. It is quite normal. Quran doesn't address only one people, one society, one time, one age, but addresses to all people, to all times, to all